Hi there, in this quick little video I'm going to show you my latest package, a PHP package called contextr, and we are going to turn that package into a Laravel specific package, because currently it's just a PHP package, but it would be nice to be able to use it in a Laravel specific way. So let's dive right in. Contextr is a text analysis tool. Basically, it's a AI wrapper. You might say it's just an AI wrapper. I think it's an AI wrapper, but it provides a pretty smooth, fluent interface, and has a couple of other niceties that I will go into later. So what can you do with this package? You can analyze text for the fact whether a text is spam or not, and you can supply context with that, which makes your spam check a lot more reliable, because context can certainly matter. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is you can determine the sentiment of a text. You can determine whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, though you can also supply your own sentiments to check against too. Another thing you can do is you can do moderation on the text, and you can supply your own rule set. By default it will use these rules, but you can supply your own rule set and then check whether there are violations in the text. And you can specify if you want the violations to be returned specifically, so you'll get an array of these rules are being violated within the text. And lastly, you can also check the likelihood that a text is AI generated. All with context, all with the possibility to also give reasoning. So reasoning is a short one-sentence explanation why the AI model thinks something is a violation in this case, but also could be why something is spam, why something is AI. All the checks also have a like a method. For example, with spam you have this spam method, and that will return a boolean whether it's spam or not. So that's a quick overview. One of the niceties, among the fact that it's a nice interface to program against, there is normalization going on behind the scenes. So an AI model is relatively reliable with the responses, but by normalizing the responses you'll be certain you'll get a boolean, you'll get an array for the data. So it's added to make sure that you can sort of depend on a certain structure being returned. Now with that out of the way, let's just run this little snippet here to see what it comes back with. You'll notice my API key here, and I will, of course, remove that from my working API keys so that you won't be able to use it yourself. I'm using the OpenAI provider. So I have an instance of contextr here, and here I'll just run this. It gives me a response. This is the full response with decoded data, also the source response from OpenAI itself. Now, if I would want to just have the array of the check, I can do something like this. And like I just show you in the documentation, if you just want to know whether it's spam or not, you can call this method. So you'll get what you get what I mean. So, but in Laravel, you would probably not be expecting to set up the contextr instance like that. What you'll see in the Laravel ecosystem is something like this, and then go on from there. And the instance of contextr would normally be set up through some configuration file. So this video we're going to dive into how you can create your own custom Laravel package. So let's go ahead and get started with that part of the video. We'll head on over to the Spatie package skeleton, which is a very nice starting point to create custom Laravel packages. Has some couple of niceties in it to make it easier to create your own Laravel package. We'll use that as a template for our repository. We'll call this contextr for Laravel. And we'll clone that repository locally. Go into the folder and open it up in our editor. So one thing that is noted in the README of this skeleton is that we need to run this script. So we'll go ahead and do that. It takes you through a couple of steps. Fairly straightforward. The vendor name is going to be contextr for Laravel in this case. I don't want to use my own name for this package as a vendor name. A vendor namespace will be like so. Package name will be contextr for Laravel. Let me think about that for a second. I will go with contextr here. Class name will be contextr for Laravel. I'll leave the description like so. We won't be using PHP stan. We will be using PHP pinned. No dependabot. And yes to Ray. If you don't know Ray, very handy debugger. Can recommend. And we'll opt out of the changelog updater workflow. Let's have a check whether everything is set up correctly. This is looking good. We'll have to make some minor adjustments because I don't want to use the namespace like that. But we'll do that in a second. Let's go ahead and modify the files and run composer install. And let's let the script delete itself. All right. So like I said, I want to change the namespace. Let's first do that in the composer file. One of the things that I do need to change here is the vendor name and the package name. Here as well. You probably are thinking, why didn't you just fill in contextr for Laravel straight away? Well, because at the end of the day, I do want to use contextr for the config file name, among other things. So that's why I opted to change a couple of things here. Let's scroll down. Don't want to use the same name for the namespace twice, so I'll remove that. And remove it here as well. And here I just, for the alias, I just want to use contextr. So we'll do that. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. This is looking good. So we'll change a couple of things here as well. We're not going to use any commands. So it comes with the package skeleton comes with a base command. We're not going to use it, so we're just going to remove it. And actually, I'm not going to. Well, I'm not sure about the facade just yet. Let's see. We have our service provider. Let's change the namespace quickly. Actually, we're not going to use the command, so I'm removing it here and removing it here as well. Update the namespace and update the namespace here and here as well. We'll rename the. Well, I'll come back to that in a second. Let's leave it for like this for now. Okay. So we will be using a config file. but we won't have any views and we won't have any database migration. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this here. And that means that I can delete the database folder as well as the resources folder. All right. So now that we've done that, I think I can create the instance of contextr. One thing I will do is I will rename this to contextr. And I'm going to return a string here because we're going to create a singleton. Just going to go ahead and remove that for the time being and rename this to contextr. Another thing I want to do is actually use the contextr package. Like that. Let's go to our service provider and let's add our singleton. Call that contextr. And here we'll return the instance of contextr. I do think we should be able to provide or configure rather in a config file which provider is the default provider, as well as the API keys per provider. So first we're going to just set up the provider here. And let's get the default provider as well. And let's opt for OpenAI as the default. So if the default provider is OpenAI, we'll say provider is OpenAI, and we'll set an API key, grab that from the config as well. So contextr providers OpenAI API key. And we'll also let you configure which model to use. So config contextr providers OpenAI model. And by default, we'll go with GPT 4.0 mini. This is the cheapest model. It's a cheap model, it's a fast model, and it's pretty good with the checks I've noticed. So I can recommend that one. So there we have our provider. If the default provider is Grok from XAI, just going to copy this and swap that to Grok. Say Grok here. And here we are going to use the Grok 2 latest. So we'll import that enum from the Grok PHP package and say Grok 2 latest, like so. And lastly, we're going to return an instance of contextr and pass in the provider. All right, that looks good. Next, we want to set up our config file. So we want to have a default provider. Like so. We'll have our providers, OpenAI. And let's just first do OpenAI. We'll have an API key, OpenAI API key, maybe prefix it with contextr, and we'll set the model as well. Like so. And we'll copy this for Grok. I'm a little bit doubtful whether this should be grok or XAI, but so I might change that at a certain point, but I'm going to go with grok for now. All right, so this is looking good, I think. Maybe I should run Composer again, just to see whether I get any errors. Right, looking good. So I've already set up a just a basic Laravel application with nothing in it, and I'm going to add this package to the Laravel application to see whether it actually works. So I'll switch to that application now. That is this project. I've already set up a link, or rather I've set up the repository so that it is able to find my package locally. So we'll add the package here as well. Like so, and we'll say def main for the time being. That is looking good. I'm not sure if I already set the environment. I did not set that up just yet, so let's go ahead and say contextr OpenAI API key and grab the key from here, like so. Should be good. And I think that should be it. I'm just looking if I forgot anything. I don't think so. So let's have our fingers crossed. We'll run the Laravel application in Tinkerwell, another tool from Beyond Code I believe can recommend as well, very handy. So let's just go ahead and remove all this. And let's go to our contextr for Laravel application. And I think we should be able to just run contextr and say like spam, say text, this is a very nice comment of you, very interesting. And we'll give some context to it. Topic, introduction, thread on forum, and let's, for this example, just we'll leave it at that for now, and just run analyze to see if it works. For some weird reason, Tinkerwell thinks we need to run on PHP 8.2, but I am running 8.4 if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just going to stop the services for a quick bit. Hopefully that will make Tinkerwell think twice about the PHP version. Doesn't look like it. I'm actually surprised with this. Heard use 8.4. It's pointing to Homebrew. I think we want to use this one. I hope that works. That works, though we do have a error, unfortunately. Provider must be of type contextr providers. Okay. Null given, default provider, contextr default provider, open AI. Default provider. I don't think I have to explicitly set it here, right? Must be of type string. Null given. Okay. Okay. Apparently, I do need to specify the fallbacks here. I'm not entirely sure why this is happening currently. This should be passed along as a fallback if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, I'm just going to go ahead for now and copy this to my environment file and say GPT-4o mini, and I will look into that issue at a later point. There we have our check response, and I can, of course, if I want the reason, I can do with reasoning. And there it is with the reasoning. So that seems to work. Pretty cool. And I think that's it for this video. It's a nutshell video. You can obviously go way further with custom Laravel package development, but just to give you a quick example of how you can get started with the package skeleton from Spatie, I think it was interesting to show you. One last thing I will do, just to finish the video off, is push this to GitHub. So let's see if I am pushing the correct things. Looking good. First commit. Right, let's head on over to GitHub. There we have it. It is doing the code formatting, I think, in a GitHub action. One quick change I will do. Let's see. Is add to the README the correct composer installation instruction, like so. And lastly, just to finish it out, we're going to go to packagist and we're going to submit our package there as well. Package name found, that is correct. Let's submit it. And there we have our Laravel contextr for Laravel package. Quick little video, hope you enjoyed it. If you like contextr, try it out. I'm very much open to suggestions for improvements and additions and so on. Hit me up at X or yeah, comment on this video. Very much like to hear from you, or go to the GitHub repository. Thank you for watching. Bye.